What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. For this camera comparison we have the GoPro 10 and of course the GoPro 9. Now I've done a similar video a few months ago back when the GoPro 10 was first released, but since then both cameras got a bunch of updates, so many things have improved. So I want to show you how the cameras record now after all those updates. I'm actually going to show you on the screen what software version each camera is currently using today in April 2022. So as always, we are going to split this video in two sections. The first section has to do with the image stabilization, so I'm going to do a bit of walking, a bit of running, a bit of biking, so you can see how smooth the footage from each camera is. And the second section has to do with the video quality, so I'm going to record the different resolutions and different settings so you can see which camera films better. And with that being said, I'm going to start by doing a bit of a walking test and we'll see how each camera does for image stabilization. Okay, so we are starting with our first test. I'm currently recording in 4K at 30 frames per second. I have the field of view set to wide and the image stabilization level set to boost. That is the maximum level of image stabilization available on both cameras. So I'm gonna start walking slow. I'm trying to keep the cameras as steady as possible. So we're just walking normally here, just like if you'd go for a nice stroll basically. But I'm also gonna start running in a bit so you can see how the cameras do while running. So let's do a bit of fast running. We're gonna stop here. We'll move out of the way. So now I'm gonna pan the cameras left and right slowly once again to see how steady the footage is when you're doing that. So back left now. Alright, so for our next test, I'm recording in 4K at 30 frames per second. I have the field of view set to super view on both cameras and the image stabilization set to boost. And as you can see for yourself, I am riding the bicycle, so I'll see how well I can do so I don't fall while riding. And of course I'll try to do a bit of more sudden movements just so you can see how that stabilization works. I think we're gonna go right somewhere around here. Yeah, around here I guess. Whoa. And I guess we'll go this way. We'll go right. Whoa. And back left I guess. Well, I don't fall, that's a good thing. So yeah, 4K at 30 frames per second, super view and boost level of image stabilization. Alright, and we're gonna move on to our next running test. For this running test, I've switched the resolution to 4K at 60 frames per second, and once again I have the field of view set to wide and the maximum level of image stabilization, which is boost. So for this running test, I'm not just gonna run straight, I'm gonna go left, right, left, right. So let's see how that works. We'll go this way, we'll go back this way, we'll go around and to the right, and I guess we'll go left once again and back right. So yeah, 4K at 60 frames per second with the 10 and the 9. Alright, so for our last test for image stabilization, I am recording in 4K at 30 frames per second and I have both cameras set to linear plus horizon leveling. So for this test we're gonna be doing a bit of crazy running. We'll go left, we'll go right, left again, we'll turn right around here, we'll go this way. So yeah, 4K at 30 frames per second with the linear mode and horizon leveling. Okay, so as you've seen for yourself, the stabilization on the GoPro 10 has improved mostly compared to how the camera was when it was first released. When it was first released, the GoPro 10 wasn't doing that great for slow movement. So if you just walk nice and slow, it wasn't doing great. It was doing really good for sudden movements, for fast movements, but not for slow movements. But that has been addressed in one of those updates that we got over the past few months. Now, between the 9 and the 10 does seem to be a bit better. There isn't that big of a difference in between the two, but the 10 does seem to be a bit better. Next, we're gonna move on and check out some sample recordings so you can see which camera has the better video quality. So let's check out those recordings and I'll be right back. Alright, we have a quick recording in 5.3K on the GoPro 10 and 5K on the GoPro 9, recording at 30 frames per second with a field of view set to wide. Now, with the GoPro 10 you could also do 5.3K at 60 frames per second, something that we cannot do with the GoPro 9, so something to keep in mind. I'm gonna stop somewhere around here. We're gonna pan right slowly. So we have a combination of sunshine and shade. And back left, and we're gonna walk straight towards the water for a bit. So yeah, 5.3K at 30 frames per second on the GoPro 10 and 5K at 30 frames per second on the GoPro 9. 5.3K at 30 frames per second with the GoPro 10 and 5K at 30 frames per second with the GoPro 9, and both cameras are set to the maximum level of image stabilization, which is boost. It's also quite windy up here. Alright, we have a quick recording at my favorite resolution, 4K at 30 frames per second and with the field of view set to wide on the GoPro 9 and of course on the GoPro 10. I'm just gonna stand here and basically pan around slowly. Once again, we do have a combination of sunshine and shade, just so you can see how both cameras work under these conditions. So now we are half shade, half sunshine basically. We actually see Laura somewhere around there as well. So I'm gonna keep panning. We can kind of see the town from up here. So 4K at 30 frames per second between the 9 and the 10. We are moving on to another quick recording in 4K at 60 frames per second between the 9 and the 10. I have the field of view set to wide on both cameras, but on the GoPro 10 I could actually go to super view mode. So a wider field of view, something that we don't have available on the GoPro 9. So I'm gonna stop here for a bit, we'll pan right slowly. And then back left. So yeah, 4K at 60 frames per second and the field of view set to wide. Next, we are moving on to another recording that's done in 1080p at 60 frames per second, and I have the field of view set to linear for the 9 and of course for the 10. We're just gonna walk straight so towards the water. It's a super sunny day out, so beautiful blue skies, but also slightly windy, so you may hear some wind in these recordings aside from my voice. So 1080p at 60 frames per second in the linear mode. And we're moving on to another quick recording in 4K at 30 frames per second using the wide field of view on the 9 and of course on the 10. Once again, here we have a combination of shade and sunshine. So we're just gonna walk this way. I'm gonna stop somewhere around here and we'll pan left slowly. What a gorgeous day. So yeah, 4K at 30 frames per second between the GoPro 9 and the GoPro 10 using the wide field of view and the boost image stabilization. I've actually used the boost image stabilization for all the recordings that you've seen in today's video. Alright, we have a quick video test in low light between the 9 and the 10. For this recording I'm doing 4K at 30 frames per second and I have the field of view set to wide. The image stabilization is set to boost for both cameras. Now of course we have some street lights around here, but overall it is fairly dark for an action camera to film, because action cameras aren't known for the best recordings in low light. So I'm gonna stop somewhere around here. We're gonna pan left slowly. And back right, and we'll walk right. it gets a bit darker around here. So yeah, this is how recording in 4K at 30 frames per second between the 9 and the 10 would look like. Alright, for our second recording in low light, I'm recording in 4K at 60 frames per second, and once again I have the field of view set to wide on the 9 and of course on the 10. We're gonna walk this way. I'm walking fairly fast. And from what I'm seeing on the screens here, the image is brighter on the 10. But again, I'm gonna have to see how this footage actually looks on the computer. So we'll cross the street here and we'll walk left. I'm actually gonna stop here for a bit. We'll pan left slowly. So yeah, 4K at 60 frames per second between the 9 and the 10 in low light. Okay, so for video quality, not a lot has changed between the 9 and the 10 after all those updates. I mean, the GoPro 10 was better than the GoPro 9 for video quality. I feel that the videos are a bit sharper, the colors are a bit better, and the dynamic range is definitely better from the recordings done by the GoPro 10. But this was also the case before those updates. So I feel that those updates did the most for the stabilization, not necessarily for the video quality. For nighttime recordings, of course, neither camera does that great, but if I would have to choose one of them, I feel that the GoPro 10 does a bit better than the 9, even though those recordings at night don't look that great. So there you have it, the GoPro 10 and the GoPro 9 after a bunch of updates. I'm gonna end the video by showing you some sample pictures that I took with both cameras. Both cameras do fairly equal for pictures, I'm gonna say, but I'll let you guys watch those pictures. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.